Hey, what's up, guys? This is Brian of Brian's Tech Therapy, formerly of Whisper Status 74. This is a tech therapy video. This video is actually on inflation, on the economy, the possibility of an upcoming recession, and how and if it is affecting your current ability or desire to buy. It is want versus need.
I've seen things people wouldn't believe.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. This is a conversation I've wanted to have for a very long time. However, I was hoping to hang back and hope things would improve with our economy, not just in the US, but all over the world. We may be heading to a recession. We have a lot of inflation. I have no desire to talk about the politics of why we have inflation or what the reasoning is. That's not what this channel or this video is about. This is a tech therapy video. They are long form videos and they are discussion based. They're meant to be about 15 to 20 minutes. I'll try and keep this one short. However, I do want and would like you to participate in the comments and tell me how things have affected you in regards to, are you purchasing? Are you watching less videos like mine and other influencers on things to buy? How has it affected your life with, again, coming out of the last 3 years, things have opened, people are out, money has now become very tight. How does that affect your decision making, what you should buy? And I want to put a little bit of perspective, or at least give some perspective in this. Now, for me, doing YouTube, and I don't cover this enough, is more value-based products. I don't have access to a lot of them. A lot of the products that I do review and spend time with are very high-end, and that is just because I have access to them. However, I am aware and should discuss more things that are tough out there financially. Very rarely do we say, maybe in the comments more, do we say, does this fit your budget? Other than that, a lot of it is, this does this, we like this, we don't like this is great, that's not great. However, I want to be and am more sensitive to the fact that money is very tight out there. Now, if money is not tight for you and this does not affect you at all, this video is not meant to be for you. But I do know that, at least speaking with financial advisors and even talking to economists, friends of mine, we've talked about even things like gas prices going up, not just, again, in the US, but all over the world. Gas prices are insane in the UK and Canada, other regions. But in the US, what a friend of mine who's an economist had said, subconsciously, when you are filling up at the gas station or the petrol station, is that as you look at the number going up, and when you're done pumping, that money that you see subconsciously starts to eat away at you, more or less saying, all right, well, even if you don't make that conscious choice of, I'm not going to purchase this, your mind begins to scale back and says, wow, that was expensive. But not just, wow, that's expensive, I can't afford this. Just subconsciously, you start to say, whoa, okay, I guess I can afford less. Now, if you think about just gas, he was saying that that was the standard. That's where people start to judge that. The next one being food shopping. You're in the grocery store, you are noticing, wow, I didn't buy as much as I did last time, yet it's still $100 or $200, or if you have a family, $300. What I've noticed is more even things like takeout. It could be something like fast food for the kids or pizza. And I'm like, damn, for 2 pizzas, that's $70? And you're realizing the prices are creeping up. We don't always contribute that or add that to what we make ourselves. And you realize that maybe your business is slowing down. I don't know what anyone's finances are or what you do for a living. I do know that we're all impacted. My question for you guys is this affecting the plan you had to upgrade your display, buying a new console, upgrading your PC? Now, we cover all kinds of technology on this channel. It is the TV season, so it is all TVs for the most part, but I want to do more of these tech therapy talks. Now, the perspective that I want to provide or discuss is very simple, or I should turn this to asking you guys the question, has this affected you? Has this affected you both mentally, financially? Has it affected to you where you watch less of us in the YouTube space? Not just TVs, cars, whatever products that you were keeping your eye on. Is that now out of reach? Or are you having to adjust the purchase you were going to make? Let's just say that if you were looking at a 65-inch TV, are you now looking at a 55-inch TV? Or you're upgrading a PC, are you aiming at a different GPU? Are you looking at a different motherboard? Are you holding on to that? Consoles are still very hard to get. Are you buying less? Are you consciously buying less? Has your budget been strained? What is that doing to your state of mind? Is that giving you more fear of missing out? Is that making you look at this and saying, I want that more? Obviously, things that we can't have, we desire more. And I can tell you that I went through this many times in my life. Part of the .com. My career was in telecommunications for many years. 9/11, .com had to start my life completely over. Same thing in the recession and the financial crisis of 2007, 2008. Been on the front row of all of these and what we have happening now. But I guess I remember even a few years ago, those of you that have been with me for a long time, I had set aside some money to buy a panel for this channel. And I wasn't somebody that wanted to buy TVs and then return them. This was something I was going to buy for the channel. It was a Vizio Quantum P-Series X. I would have been one of the first to have it, and I was going to buy it at Costco at the time. I think it was $2,500. And I had that money set aside. And I do remember money being pretty tight. Dog had an eye surgery. All this was documented on the channel. Now, what I'm saying here isn't an economy thing. It's a life thing. So I had this money set aside, didn't need a TV, but I wanted something for the channel to feature. And the Quantum P series was going to be a very hot panel. And I remember my car breaking down, my dog having surgery. It ends up being like a $11,000 cost. And realistically could not afford to buy that TV at this time or at that time. What was fascinating about that moment, because these are all toys for us, was I was more disappointed that I couldn't buy what I wanted to buy, not just for YouTube, but just for my excitement of having something new, to see what that panel could do, than I was about the hardship, than I was about the fact that I was without a car. Or, I mean, I was worried about my dog's eye surgery, but I was more like freaked out that I was like, and there was a bratty thought process to that. Let's face it, they are toys. And at times, toys will make us feel very childish and say to ourselves, man, but I want it. And for many of you, so what I ended up doing is actually not buying it at all. I was going to do the credit card thing and then stress myself and realize that wasn't the way to go. What ended up happening is I bought the panel a couple months later, and even on YouTube, interest had waned in that particular model, and my panel actually failed during my review. But anyway, the point is, psychologically, it was interesting on what hurt me. Wasn't just the fact that these other things were going wrong. There was a disappointment on wanting that toy. Wanting something after all the hard work or all the effort or all the hardship. You want something to bring pleasure. Something to say, okay, well, when you're going through things, you can picture sitting home and just watching that TV and relaxing. To know that that was gone was causing stress. Then to think that if I had stretched myself to then get it, and then knowing how that panel was going to perform. Now, this is where I am going to add some perspective. Knowing that that panel, and it's not just that Vizio, any of the panels you see or any of the technology that we want and covet so much, it's never going to overcome or displace or replace the stress that we feel. Whether it's financially or sickness or hardship or heartbreak, we try to fill one hole with something else or heal the pain of something with something inanimate. And that is a very slippery slope. That is part of what I want to talk about today. But I do want to know where you guys are. We are 9 minutes in. Again, I mentioned these are long form. As I'm up here talking about panels, reviewing panels, or showing you TVs, talking about video games, very rarely do I say, is it a good value? There are plenty of videos and channels that do Black Friday sales and cover. I don't do a lot of that, primarily due to the fact I just don't have time and what I'm focusing on. But I am cognizant and sensitive to that for you guys, which is why I want to know in the comments where you are presently, how you feel presently. Were you on the verge of ordering something? Were you gonna buy something and then you canceled it? Did you say to yourself, probably can't swing that? As I'm talking about just our current lives, as I'm adding up over the weeks, what we spend on these other things, simple things, food, gas, everything being more expensive. I have children, school, tuition, things of that nature. Do I always correlate that to, hey, I was planning on buying this? Where I do that and realize subconsciously was not as much I can afford this, but do I need this? Do I need this now? Want versus need. I was in the process of upgrading my PC. Obviously, the crypto thing has changed, but prior to what happened a few years ago and the whole world shutting down, I was going to upgrade my PC. Now, I have a GTX 1080 Ti, still a pretty good card, but my CPU and motherboard is very old. But it was a want, not a need. There is over 150 games on that PC that can run 4K 60. They're older titles. I've never beaten them. A lot of the newer games that I play are multiplayer with friends of mine on the newer consoles, which I'm lucky enough to have. However, at the time, the CPU, motherboard, GPUs weren't really available. Now that they are available, I was poised only a few days ago, or at least a week ago, to upgrade the entire thing. Had them all in a bin with a friend of mine, Irfan. Shout out to Irfan if you're watching. But we were going to redo the build. And as I'm looking at the price of that being probably $1,200 or $1,300 just to do the CPU, the motherboard, part of me wasn't so connecting it to what we were saying. But I immediately thought to myself, I don't need that now. Do I need that now? Even upgrading the display I have behind me, selling it and buying something new, thought to myself, is it really that big of an upgrade? C1, I was going to go to a G2. Me knowing the industry, being in the industry, spending time with all these panels, I had already talked myself out of it. No, I don't really need that right now. Not realizing that cause and effect, want versus need. Buying games, that's what's been so good about Game Pass on Microsoft. I'm downloading Sniper Elite. I'm going to play that co-op with, get rid of that real quick, co-op with my friend Brass Tacks. We're going to rock that in a little while, but that is Game Pass. I'm downloading something where normally I end up buying games just to experience something new, a newness, to say, okay, I'll buy that, I'll have it. I'm realizing even as I upgrade speakers, is it that big a difference? For you, is it that big a difference? Now, if you have a modern display, if you have something that has HDR, something that has 4K, you're pretty good where you are. But I want to know where you are in regards to how you feel. Now, I know watching many of us, we do say this is great, that is great. They are great. Things do look amazing. However, this looks amazing a couple years old, 3 years old, 4 years old. Those panels, that technology still looks great. The new advancements in technology, though for many of us in the industry, they do feel like larger jumps. However, they are incremental for the most part. The perspective, though, is this. The more you try to buy something to cover something else, the more incremental that increase will be. It will not change the world. It will not change your life. A lot of talk about the Samsung S95B, which to me, the Quantum OLEDs are a large jump. And I've enjoyed that panel. It's been updated. We'll have a whole nother section on Samsung and that. But when that video and those videos came out, a lot of questions were, hey man, it's a lot of money, but from what you guys are saying, it's amazing. Should I sell this or upgrade from, let's say, a CX or an AAH to the QD OLED of the same size? Many times you will hear me and other reviewers on the platform say the only time to upgrade is for size. If you have some feature sets you need, HDMI 2.1, things like that, panels that didn't have HDR, or it was 1080p to 4K, for the most part, we'll tell you to sit back and relax. When you upgrade, do it for size. Why do we say that? It's because no matter how good the new panels are, in reality, they are incremental upgrades. A lot of times you talk about GPUs and CPUs. You gotta say to yourself, how much of an upgrade is that gonna be compared to how much it costs? That matters more now when we have inflation, maybe an upcoming recession. My point of this video is to say to you that by making a purchase that maybe you can't afford, it will not only not help, but it may hurt or hinder you. Coming out of what we've been in the last number of years, it's amazing how much of a low-lying depression there is. A lack of passion, a lack of desire to train, to go to the gym, to do things for yourself. There's not a laziness, but there is an effect of I just don't feel like doing the things that once made me happy. In regards to AV, audio visual, a lot of times we try to buy our way out of it. You know what? I'm struggling with this. Let me buy something new. And a lot of times after the fear of missing out, there is a buyer's remorse. And a lot of times you cannot get that money back, or sometimes you build up this new thing so much, it'll never meet it. Many of these panels that we talk about, a lot of the side-by-sides that we do, they are still very close. Doesn't matter if it's a panel from 3 years ago versus something now, there are upgrades. Things are brighter. Things may be a little bit cleaner. It all depends on the content, what you're using it for. But for the most part, as much as I love what we do, as much as I enjoy showing you these panels, I'm filming the Z9K 8K LED in a few days. But as I'm going to film that, I wanted to have this conversation. I want to let you know I'm cognizant of the fact that it's out of reach for many of you. It's out of reach for me. But for me, even if I could afford it I have to then think myself, is it a want or is it a need? Anything audiovisual is a want. Any toy is a want. However, you have to have some things that bring you joy, some things that bring you comfort. There's nothing better than hanging back, watching a game, watching a movie, playing a video game, watching sports, being with your family. However, if you upgrade needlessly or stretch that budget, I promise you'll be sitting back saying to yourself, I shouldn't have got that. It's actually not much better than what I had. You'll be looking at your partner or your husband or your wife and saying, what do you think? Is it that much different? I hear a lot of that. I hear a lot of that in the comments, and I want to know in the comments what you think. These tech therapy videos are share my perspective, but for many of you in the comments to share yours, help each other. I can easily sit up here and say, hey, you got to buy this. You have to have it. And you do hear in the comments or in the videos a lot, wow, that's awesome. This is amazing. Yes, they are. But when I do a lot of these videos and I show you a new panel, that's meant to stand on its own. Meaning that if I'm showing you an A80K or S95B or a G2 or a C2, it's meant to be judged on its own. What do I think of it on its own? And then throughout the review or the discussion, we'll discuss a little bit of how much of an upgrade it is over what came before it. More times than not, it is a tweak. It is a little bit of a change. Now, the other part of this perspective that I want to share with you, and this is one about affirmation. Many of you do stretch that budget. And I want to talk a little bit about the beginning of the TV season when the S95B came out. Many of you bought the A90J Master Series. Very expensive panel, still one of my favorite panels in the last few years. It is absolutely amazing. It is excellent. Some of these other panels have caught up. That caused so much stress over many of you who bought that panel that there were so many fights happening in the comments. And I don't care about jealousy or envy. It's more about if it's causing you pain. Nothing that comes out is going to make what you have any less. So part of GPU, CPU is buying something, knowing what you spent on it, buying something that you're comfortable buying, that you've researched, and you know you can afford it, will help you not feel that buyer's remorse, help you not feel so guarded. If it was too expensive, don't buy it. If you can't swing it, don't buy it. Don't over leverage yourself. It will only cause you more pain and more stress. And anything that puts you in a deficit is no good for you. And it takes away, and I know I've done it. I've had defective panels, and what I did was try to spend my way out of it. And the more money I spent, the worse it got. The worse it would be for me to say, wow, not only is this picture not great, it's double what this one was. So do your research. But more importantly, try and figure out how you feel about what's happening. Try and figure out if that purchase is to solve stress of another kind. Do you need a TV? Want over need. For me, I'd love to have a faster PC, but being realistic and saying to myself, really, what games are you going to play? Is the content out there? There's a bunch of games on here already. Gonna upgrade all of this sound. A lot of times it's just buying something to make yourself feel better. However, if the economy is bad, inflation is bad, there's a recession on its way, this will put you in a deficit. It will make you say to yourself, wow, I just really shouldn't have bought that. And then instead of enjoying it, it will eat at you. And then, God forbid, it doesn't live up to your expectations. And I will tell you, most of the things that I see, as much as I love them, a lot of times they are going to disappoint you. And the fact that they won't meet your expectations is simply because you've put too many expectations on it to solve other things in your life. That is very important. I remember going through the Series X and the PS5, and obviously I wanted those for the channel. And for us as content creators, it's hard to judge what we purchase as we are purchasing it for the channel so we can show you. So it's a little bit different than you guys. However, when I first discovered having the new consoles, that they didn't take advantage of whether there was new games or this was the same as the Xbox One X. Stretching yourself thin, paying more for things, I ended up realizing, wow, I could have waited. Now, had I not had a channel to feature those games on, I would have been very disappointed and I would have been upset. That's kind of where I'm going with this. Just please make sure you know where you are mentally. I don't want you to find this stressful. A lot of you guys will say you watch. Hey, I watch, but really can't afford things right now. Then really step back or realize that, guys, what you have is very good. If you have anything modern in the last 4 or 5 years, if you don't have HDMI 2.1, you don't have the new consoles, there's so much content out there for you to enjoy. Between streaming and gaming, there is so much out there to enjoy. Try and be as present as you possibly can. Try and sit there and just be. And stop thinking about what else you need or what else you want. Because trust me, it just gets worse and worse. For me, what's changed that for me is, again, being a content creator and seeing all of these products, experiencing real Atmos, experiencing very expensive speakers. As beautiful and amazing as it is, there's part of you that's like, really? I mean, I like it, but I'm okay with what I have. I want you to try and think about that. Try and think about where you are as things get tighter and the disappointment you may feel if the toys that we want are out of reach. My recommendation for this is this. Do not overspend. Do not stretch that budget to something that you can't afford. But maybe waiting. Maybe saying, hey, I'll give you an example. I'll end on this. If you have your heart set on a 75-inch TV and you want that, I wouldn't get a smaller TV. I wouldn't compromise that because you may find yourself not being happy with that compromise. I would try to be patient. I would try to hang back and enjoy what you have. Obviously, unless you don't have a TV of any kind, you don't have anything, you do need a TV. But in terms of upgrading, make sure if you do upgrade, it is an upgrade. Compromising that upgrade. All right, perfect example. I want a 77-inch OLED. I want a 75-inch OLED. I want a 65-inch TV. You're going to be tempted to say, money's tight. Let me just grab another 55. I promise you that will work against you, because you're not going to buy another TV next year unless you're going to buy yourself a stopgap. But that kind of perspective, don't go halfway. Try to be patient. Try to enjoy the content that is out there. Save, and then hopefully buy what you need. But sharing my perspective in this is everything we have out there, as good as it is only slightly better than what you have. Don't let it eat away at you, and don't let the things we own you. Don't let anything that you want put you in a deficit. I am Brian, formerly of Whisper Status 74. This is a tech therapy video. Please let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know where you are in this. Again, these are very long videos. They're supposed to be. All right, guys, thank you so much. I will see you in the comments. Love you guys.